campout against cancer continues today in Southwest Bakersfield, raising money for a good cause. Our very own Mike Deneau is out there live, and he has more on the event. Mike? A Chinese search crew may have made a huge discovery in the search for the missing Malaysia Airlines plane. Bagpipes ruled the day today at the Scottish Games and Gathering. Mazda issues a recall because of a spider that's drawn to the smell of gas. The accident happened just before noon on Stockdale Highway at Gosford, and we have another deadly accident to report, this one near Buttonwillow. The Bakersfield City firefighters hosted their third annual trout fishing derby at Riverwalk Park. A massive search continues in the Gulf of Thailand, where a Malaysian airliner has disappeared. The Boeing 777 was en route from Malaysia's capital city to Beijing. 239 people were on board, including 3 Americans. Members from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe continue to try and enter Crimea again today. Federal regulators are asking Graco why the company didn't recall infant seats after a voluntary recall of millions of child car seats last month. A barge carrying almost 1 million gallons of heavy oil collides with a ship, possibly sending thousands of barrels of oil into a Texas shipping channel. Well, believe it or not, today is National Puppy Day. That's right, man's best friend. A man is recovering from a gunshot wound this evening after a shooting in South Bakersfield. A 4th person has now been found dead in the debris of a massive landslide in Washington state. At least another 18 are unaccounted for after that mudslide. Now, more than 100 people are trying to rescue those who may still be trapped. Anti-austerity protests turn violent in Spain. We're learning more about the man killed in a horrific crash in Southwest Bakersfield. A man is in jail after opening fire on a passing police cruiser early this morning. And over in Porterville, a man and woman are behind bars after police find explosives inside their home. 3 people are dead after a small plane crashes in South Carolina. Well, it's one of the worst diseases that strikes senior citizens by any standard. It steals their memory, erases names, faces, family, and friends.
We're in Lamont, where behind me you can see the charred remains of the building that did burn down. It was a clothing store. It caught on fire right around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Now, fortunately, there were no injuries and no deaths reported, but the building was pretty badly damaged in the fire. Most of the crews have packed up and gone away from the scene. There are still a few fire trucks here getting things together and getting things cleaned up, but it was a very active scene earlier today. Now, we haven't spoken with the owners of the shop yet, but we do know, according to firefighters, that the shop was open for business earlier today. They say that the estimated dollar amount of loss is about $200,000, and arson investigators are still looking into the cause. Live in Lamont, I'm Caitlin Rearden for Eyewitness News. As you can see, the sidewalk behind me is all torn up. Now, we spoke with the director of Public Works, who told us they're doing what they can to get construction completed. However, the crews have been spread thin because they're working on other projects all over the city of Bakersfield. Now, what they're actually doing is they're installing handicap ramps right there so that it will be safer and more accessible for people to get to the bus stop once it's completed. Live in Central Bakersfield, I'm Caitlin Rearden for Eyewitness News. As you can see, the winds have died down considerably from what they were last night. More of just a mild breeze now. But if you look behind me, you can see this homeowner's fence that actually came down due to those heavy gusts last night. That part fell last night, and the front of the house, a part of the fence fell just this morning. Now, we spoke with that homeowner earlier today, who told us that he was surprised with the extent of damage to his property. And in some of the higher elevation areas, they actually got closer to 70 miles per hour. Now, we're going to send it over to Miles in the Weather Center so we can give you more of the latest about the weather and the wind. If we can expect more, we're all done. I'm at North Chester at Day in Oildale, and right next to me is the construction site of a new Walmart neighborhood market that will be opening up later this year. Now, over the past couple of years, the Oildale has been trying to improve their downtown by bringing in new, successful businesses to help give the community a much-needed facelift. They're hoping that this Walmart will help with that, plus provide additional shopping. Now, this store will bring about 65 jobs to the local community, and they're going to begin their hiring process in the end of the summer. Live in Oildale, I'm Caitlin Rearden for Eyewitness News. We are at the very first ever Camp Out Against Cancer event. They've been setting up for this all day. Now, people started coming around 3 this afternoon to participate in some of these activities. The main event is actually tomorrow, but this is all to help local cancer patients. Now, the event will be going on all day Saturday with all kinds of activities, including these bungee trampolines, food, games, music, all kinds of stuff, and even a survivor ceremony at 7 o'clock in the evening. So make sure you come out and enjoy it. In Southwest Bakersfield, Caitlin Rearden, Eyewitness News. Kurt, Governor Brown's proclamation also allows California to request a broad emergency declaration from President Obama, which will provide additional financial assistance to the state, which desperately needs help.
Perhaps the worst drought.
A much anticipated proclamation for parts of the state that have already begun to take action.
Kern County and other areas have issued their own emergency declarations.
But coming from the governor, this means the state can finally get some help.
It expedites water transfer requests, which is very important. It also facilitates flexibility in how state agencies manage water resources, and it does accelerate funding for projects that can be completed within the 2014 time period.
In simple terms, the declaration helps to raise awareness, especially in urban parts of the state. It also moves water from where it is to where it's most needed throughout the state, in addition to emphasizing general conservation. Currently, precipitation in much of the state is only about 20% of normal. The lines on some of the rocks show where the water level used to be. With the levels dropping due to lack of rain and snowfall, could we eventually see the Kern River end up like this?
Sure. If we don't get any rain, if something that's never happened before during the time we've been keeping records happens, and we just don't get any rain at all this winter, then sure, everything will dry up, including the Kern.
Conservation efforts are expected to take place all over the state, and while no particular restrictions are currently in place for residents or consumers, many are already being careful.
Farmers in this area are already very cautious about their water. They're very optimization oriented in their water use.
We haven't seen a drought in the state of this magnitude since 1976 and 1977. The situation is more dire today because the population is almost double what it was at that time.
It's just dry, 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 and we're going into uncharted territory. It's never been this dry before.
Officials at the Kern County Water Agency say they're only receiving about 5% of the water of what they're supposed to get.
The drought may be unprecedented depending on what it looks like for the rest of the year.
Now, Cal Water says customers should continue to conserve, but they have planned for drought conditions and will be able to supply water according to the customer's needs. We spoke to the passerby turned hero this afternoon, and he told us the whole thing still seems surreal.
I didn't even think about her falling, to be honest with you.
It wasn't an option.
No, just hold on to her.
Max Coriel was driving home from a friend's house just before 3:30 Wednesday morning when all of a sudden his night took an unexpected turn.
And was stopped by a pedestrian in the road, frantic. He screamed that there was a lady hanging off the edge of the overpass.
Max got out of his car and found a woman hanging onto the outside of the fence on the Wilson Road overpass over Highway 99. He called 911, then ran over and grabbed her.
When I got to her, I just held her onto her hands, and she was directly above the fast lane of traffic. She looked like she had gotten into something that she couldn't get out of, and she didn't have very much time left.
The holes on this chain link fence are too small to get your hand through, so the passerby had to hold on to the victim finger over finger like this until help arrived.
Grabbing her fingers, I could feel her slipping.
Max says he was holding on to the victim's fingers so hard he was afraid he may have broken some of her bones.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be the last person she saw. I told her that she wasn't trying hard enough, and that made her mad, and she pulled on and got a better grip.
A few minutes later, police arrived.
They pulled bolt cutters out of the trunk, and we cut through the fence, and I believe they got a handcuff on her wrist, and that's how we pulled her through. And I give all credit to them. Without the bolt cutters, I would have had to have gone over the fence, or I don't know how long I could have held on to her.
Now, Max said he normally takes the freeway home, which would have meant that he would have been driving underneath where the victim was hanging. But for some reason last night, he took a different route.
They should all be in jail, California government in general.
Many voters want to know what's going on at the state capitol after corruption charges have been brought against Senators Leland Yee of San Francisco and Senator Ron Calderon of Montebello. Senator Rod Wright of Baldwin Hills is waiting to see if the judge will uphold the jury's guilty verdict in his perjury trial.
I'm really upset about the fact, not just in California, but across the nation, it's becoming evident and prevalent that it's happening everywhere.
Local political consultant Stan Harper says the alleged corruption is shaking voter confidence.
You see that by the approval ratings in Washington, and it trickles down here to Sacramento.
Well, I'm really surprised that someone like Leland Yee could get away with that for so long. The underground world that he was a part of was really interesting, and obviously he was doing things bad for a long time.
Yee was arrested Wednesday during an FBI sweep and accused of running guns, drugs, stolen liquor, and cigarettes, and arranging murder for hire. He was charged in federal court with corruption and conspiracy to illegally import guns. Harper is among those who believe Senator Yee should resign.
The hypocrisy of Senator Yee of advocating one thing, but behind closed doors making outlandish criminal activities opposite of what he's been advocating in the legislature.
And I think that it's disgraceful, regardless of what party you're with.
Senate Leader Darrell Steinberg says he will cancel session on April 7th and conduct an office-by-office ethics review, and that he completely understands the public concern.
I think they should be prosecuted for all their crimes. Everyone else does. They're not above the law nor below it.
Caitlin Rearden, Eyewitness News.
Everyone was busy getting ready for the doors to open up, allowing eager fans to flood the park. Now, many say they look forward to this all year. The grills are going, the fields are prepped, and the staff at Sam Lynn Ballpark is ready for the Bakersfield Blaze's season opener against the Modesto Nuts.
Opening night, there's an excitement. It's nice and cool.
Now they just need the fans.
There's a lot of excitement because we've been waiting all winter for baseball to start, and it's finally here.
But excitement isn't the only thing fans are feeling.
There's always a lot of optimism. There's always, everybody's even, you know, there's still a lot of games left to be played.
And optimism is running high all around.
This year, I feel like we're all getting along real well, and we've all played with each other since we've come up, you know. So I feel like we have good team chemistry, and once we get that out here on the field, you know, it's going to be tough to beat us.
It's just going to be a fun year. I'm excited to start playing.
Elizabeth Martin, general manager of the Bakersfield Blaze, says despite not getting a new stadium, she's still looking forward to a great year.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2014 Bakersfield Blaze.
I hear so many stories when I'm out and about in town that, you know, I used to come out with my dad or my grandfather, and I remember my first ball game where I saw so-and-so play at the ballpark, and, you know, so we're trying to continue to foster that in the community.
It may be an old park, and we were hoping for a new one, but you know what? This stadium, this facility accommodates us beautifully. We have a great time. Just come on out and support the team. Have a good time.
And at the end of the day, the hot dogs are hot, the beer is cold, and the baseball is as close as it can get.